Hey creeps, it's Cameron again, author of The Autumn Crow books, and your host today on Library Macabre. My beverage of choice today is a strawberry lemonade kombucha. I'm more of a coffee person, but I just recently got into these because, I don't know, they make me feel really good and fresh. Anyway, that is my beverage of choice. Please drop down below what you're drinking today. And let's get talking about books, because this is part 3 of my big giant book shopping road trip that I went on last month. In part 1, we went to Toledo, Ohio and hit up a library book sale, this mega antique mall that was awesome. In part 2, we went to the Nancy Drew Museum and finally got a look at that beautiful, wonderful spectacle of a place. Definitely the highlight of the trip, but we also went to a Goodwill bookstore, which was amazing. Where else did we go? We went to Nevermore Books, which was a great place for paperbacks from hell. And in this video, we were leaving Toledo. So unfortunately, the vacation had come to an end. All good things come to an end, but I definitely wanted to stay. Toledo had a lot of fun things to do, and I enjoyed seeing its many scenic views from Lake Erie and shopping around at all the little bookstores. But just because the trip was coming to an end and we were following that yellow brick road all the way back to Kansas does not mean we didn't have some good bookstores to stop at still. And I gotta say, we kind of saved the best for last. We went to a couple more places after this, but this store definitely had the most. Like, they had the most when it comes to vintage books. We stopped in a quaint, quiet little town called Bowling Green, Ohio. And walking through this town kind of made me feel like Marty McFly, skateboarding through the streets of Hill Valley. And to make it even better, it had an amazing bookstore / coffee shop combo called Grounds for Thought. This place was bustling, and nearly every single table in the place was crammed with people just chatting and enjoying their coffee, enjoying each other's company, and everywhere you looked, there were books. Immediately, I headed for the children's section and found a treasure trove. They had it all. It was a vintage book lover's wet dream. And oh my God, we did it. We found Nancy Drew! Of course, we found a lot of Nancy Drew at the Nancy Drew Museum, but this was like the first time I found a lot of Nancy Drew books that I could buy and take home with me. That was a big point of me going on this trip, was wanting to find a lot of like Nancy Drew books for my collection, and I finally found some. Look at this! Look at this giant stack of Nancy Drew! Holy schmoly! So what makes this stack of paperbacks really special is that these are UK editions, and I didn't have any of these. I have a few other foreign Nancy Drew books. I have some French editions, which are beautiful. I've got some older UK editions, but these are paperbacks from the late 80s and early 90s. Did not have any of these. I had never seen these before in the wild because obviously they were not available here in the States. They just had a ton of these, and not just that, but they had a lot of other UK books. So I wonder if maybe somebody brought their collection of UK editions and dropped them off at the store at one point. I don't know. This first set right here are books from like the early 90s, 1991. So these editions came out in the early 90s, and they all have the same kind of format with these stars in the background and this really great Nancy Drew logo. Now, what's different about these books is that you can see the numbering system here. This is book 75. It is The Clue in the Diary. The Clue in the Diary, as it was officially released in the States, is book number 7 in the series. But in the UK, it was released as book 75. That's so weird to me. Here is Mystery of the 99 Steps, which is the second book in the series, but here in the States, it was officially released as book like 40 something. So it's quite interesting. I love these covers. There was actually some original cover art from these editions that was on display in the Nancy Drew Museum. So I thought it was pretty cool that we found these. This cover especially is great. I think this is Bess here on the front cover, who's just like screaming her lungs out. They're all great. There's Mystery of the Ski Jump. I'm not gonna show you every single one of these, but I will pull out some of my faves. How about that? Oh, here we go. The Clue of the Dancing Puppet. How freaky is that? Oh my God. Oh, here's Nancy in Clue of the Crumbling Wall, who's about to put her hand on a freaking rattlesnake. This one actually looks kind of disturbing to me. I mean, Nancy Drew is always being gagged and thrown into a closet to starve, but just seeing her like this is a little disturbing. Mystery of Crocodile Island. The US edition also has a really great cover, but I like this one too. Secret of Redgate Farm. I just read this one. I read both the original text and the revised version, which are basically identical. It's a great book. dealing with a nature cult. And then there's the rest of those, but that's not it because we have more UK editions to show you. These ones are from like the late 90s, I think. Okay, well, 1992, so I was wrong. But these ones are from just a year later, and they are from the same series, but it looks like they redesigned the covers. Look at that one. It's kind of terrifying. There's Mystery of the Glowing Eye, Double Jinx Mystery. I like these covers too, though I have to say I kind of prefer these older ones right here. Secret in the Old Attic, Secret of the Golden Pavilion. Yeah, these are really cool, and I'm glad I was able to buy all these. They were $2.50 a piece, so it's kind of steep, I guess, but when's the next time I'm gonna find these editions of these books? So they had those 90s UK Nancy Drew books, but they also had other vintage Nancy Drew books, some vintage Hardy Boys and other teen detectives. And while they had quite a nice selection of these, they were just a little bit too high priced for me, especially with the sheer amount of books that I'd already gathered in just the few minutes I'd been there. Like 10 minutes into my trip, I already had like a bag that was overflowing with books. One of the baristas was really sweet. She was coming through and she saw me and she saw my stack of books this high and she was like, "Can I get you a bag?" I don't think they're used to people buying so many books. I think they're mostly there for the coffee, and here I was just loading up on books. So where do we start? I guess I'm just gonna start at the top and start going through these books. We've got Salem's Tales. And this is, of course, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch book. I actually just finished rewatching, binging the entire original Sabrina series, which was an interesting time because I love that show and I have for many years, ever since I was a little kid. But those later seasons are rough. They're really hard to get through, but I did it. I got through the entire show. Should I be proud of that? I don't know. I don't think it's much of an accomplishment, but I did it. And I still love the show, even though those later seasons are really rough. So this here is, of course, a series all about Salem the cat, who is my favorite character of the show. Probably even more than Hilda and Zelda, which is really saying something. So this next one is actually a very prestigious book. It's won a whole bunch of awards. I think it even won like the Pulitzer Prize or something. So this is one that I had to get because I just know, like, everybody talks about it, everybody talks about how good it is, just what a great work of literature, and that it's one of those books that everybody should really have in their collection. Everybody should read it. It's on like all of the top 100 books you should read. I think it might even be on like the top 10 or maybe the top 5 or maybe even like the top 2 or the top 1 list of books that you should read. And that is the Barf and Booger book by Seymour Gross. Seymour Gross. I know you've heard of Seymour Gross. The fungus among us. Imagine how the fungi feel when they crawl between your toes and spot a place where they can make their micro bungalows. Between your moisty toes, they find the ideal spot to hatch. They eat your skin and split themselves. You burn and itch and scratch. Yeah, it's kind of gross. I don't even want to finish. I think I'm actually feeling a little sick.
Hey there, buddy. Why do you look so glum? Well, I have $5 in my pocket and I don't know what to do with it. You can't get an entree from Red Lobster with $5 measly. You can't even get a pumpkin spice latte. Oh, stop pouting. You just need one of these. Whoa, that looks spooky. Where did you get it? Well, from now until October 31st, Cameron Chaney's sending them out to the ultimate creeps on his Patreon. Is it an Autumn Crow story? Yes. Is it scary? Yes. Is it cozy? Yes. Does it have murder? Yes. Wow, a lovingly handmade zine-style booklet with an exclusive Autumn Crow story inside, plus murder delivered right to my door? Uh-huh, and that's not all. You'll also get access to his ebooks and hundreds of videos with new ones just about every week or so. You'll be part of the creepy family. Sign me up! Just follow the link in Cameron's bio. Hurry, while there's still time. Operators are standing by.
We've got a few Scholastic books here. This is an old Scholastic book. It's called Terror on the Mountain. It looks like it was originally called The Summer I Was Lost. This is a first printing from 1972, though it looks like the book was originally published in the 60s. Lots more Scholastic books here. A lot of Apple paperbacks. You remember those? I'm sure you do. The Ghosts of Hungry House Lane. I feel like I have this one already, but I went ahead and picked it up just just in case, because it was cheap. We've got The Midnight Library, Shut Your Mouth. I was in, I think, middle school when these books came out originally, and I would always order them from the Scholastic Book Orders. And there are only 2 books that I'm missing, and this was one of them. So I'm glad I finally found this. It's got a great cover with this creepy ass doll. Casey and the Great Idea by the wonderful Joan Lowry Nixon, a great author, and there's lots of others here. There's The Friendship Pact, which might have my favorite cover of this whole haul. Murphy's Island and The Bungee Venture. Look at this. I don't know what is happening on this cover, but it's hilarious. Looks like they're in the time of dinosaurs, so maybe time travel. Gotta love these cheesy Apple paperbacks. And then we've got a book in the Mostly Ghosts series, which is pretty rare. I've had a hard time finding these, so I was uber excited to find this one. Look at that beautiful cover art. God, that's gorgeous. I was overjoyed to find The Chimney Witches, which is a cover that I've always loved ever since I saw it online. I've been keeping an eye out, trying to find a copy of my own, and look, they had it at this store. Such a funny cover. The Haunted Tower. This is another UK book. This is one of those Usborne puzzle adventures. It's almost like an I Spy. They give you different puzzles and different things to look for within the pictures. This next one is probably one of the best finds, and again, it is a UK book. We've got Frankenstein, which is one of the Ladybird horror classics. Ladybird horror classics are these really thin little volumes of revised classics for kids. They have a lot of really wonderful illustrations all throughout the books. Always wanted to collect these, but they're very hard to find. God, you'd think I'd be getting close to the end, but I'm not. We're getting into a lot of the really good, really cheesy teen books, like The Leftover Kid, for instance. Look at this wonderful cover. The tagline on the back is, "Whoever said being a teenager was the best time of your life?" And I agree. Hated being a teenager. It was the worst. We've got some teen romance books, which are some of my favorites to collect. These are part of the Crosswinds series. Now, Crosswinds, they're not all exactly romance. Most of them are romance, but there's some thrillers thrown into the mix. There's some mysteries. Even R.L. Stine wrote a book for the Crosswinds series. This one says, "Does your nose get in the way too?" It's book number 1 in the series. This is the very first Crosswinds book. And then number 16, Red Rover. Red Rover looks like a musical theme. Then we have one of the first Love from Silhouette books. This was the Teen Harlequin series. So you remember all of those Harlequin romance books. I think they still make them to this day. There was also a series of books they did for teens, and there's about 1 million of them. There's so many, and they're quite rare. So I pick them up whenever I can find them, even if they're in rough shape. And this one has definitely seen better days. And this actually does look a little bit spooky. It involves a haunted mansion. Oh man, this is a great cover. Bonnie's Blues. Look at this dude. He is the lead singer of the Ragged Edge, and she can't get him out of her mind. Who could get him out of their mind? Come on. I don't know if that's a good thing. I definitely can't forget him. And I love this cover too. So this is The House in the Woods, a novel of suspense. Little kitten! I love how dramatic the title is, and it's like a novel of suspense. Don't let the kitten fool you. And of course, when I saw this book in the store, I had to get it. There's no way I couldn't take this home with me. Pig Out in, like, why? Why? But it worked because I bought it. And then this is The Visionary Girls, Witchcraft in Salem Village. This looks awesome. So this is a teen book all about witchcraft in Salem. I think it is a novel. It seems like a novel to me. It's not just a nonfiction book. So heck yes, had to have that, absolutely. And it just keeps going, guys. I got so many books at this store, and I started to get a little bit worried because I'm thinking in my head, there's only one checkout counter, and this counter was full of people waiting to order their coffee. What about when I get up there and people are ordering and like, this is gonna be a mess. Anyway, we've got an LJ Smith book, Heart of Valor. This is, I think, a little bit more fantasy than it is horror. I own a copy of this already, but mine has like a missing part of the cover. Like somebody cut it with scissors or something, but this one is beautiful. Remember Me When I Am Dead by Carol Beach York. I hear about Carol Beach York a lot, and I hear her books are actually really good, but my God, that is a very dramatic title. Have a Heart, Cupid Delaney, which seems to be a book about a girl who's training to become a Cupid. Oh, here's another really dramatic one, The Trouble with Wednesdays. And look at this girl. She seems distressed. I think this is just a book about a girl getting braces, but she seems really distraught. Here we go. Sugar and Spice. I've always wanted to collect these books, but they're really hard to find. And every time I find them in bookstores, they tend to be $5 or $6 a piece for whatever reason. But this time I found one for $1 and I was really happy. We've got a Sweet Valley High senior yearbook. We also have Baby Sister by Marilyn Sachs. Do you remember this? It's funny how the paperbacks back in the day always had better covers than the hardcovers. Grabbed the paperback, so now we have both the hardcover and the paperback because here we have a book in the Whitney cousins. This kind of looks like Laura Dern in a way. 4B Goes Wild. I don't know exactly what's going on here because it kind of looks like a horror book, and then you see that it's literally just a skunk. Oh yeah, Cupid Computer. Is that Jennifer Connelly? I think that's Jennifer Connelly. Catman's Daughter. A TV star father? Life should be great when you're the Catman's daughter. Look at him in the back. Oh, this was a great find. This is actually good stuff right here. This is Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators. This is one of the later paperback printings, which are just as collectible as the original first edition hardcovers I have found. I used to just collect the hardcovers of these, but now I'm starting to collect all the different editions, so it's getting a little bit out of control. But sometimes I just find them for really good deals and I can't pass them up. Here we have a couple more teen romance books with wonderful covers. I can't imagine what it was like to be a model for these book covers. Like, did it pay well? Oh, another Carol Beach York. I forgot I got this one. This is When Midnight Comes. This is one of her spooky books. She didn't just write about dying kids. And then a couple of point books. These are not point horror. A Band of Angels, which, is this actually about angels? I don't think so. And this is The Only Alien on the Planet, which I do not think is about an alien. I think this is about a teenager who feels like an alien. Which reminds me of when I was a kid, where I would literally stand out in my backyard and like look up at the sky and beg for an alien spaceship to come pick me up and bring me back home because I felt like an alien. I don't think I actually am an alien, but I was convinced back in my X-Files days that I was an alien. And I did not think they were gonna put needles in me like they did Mulder. Like, I actually thought they were gonna pick me up and bring me to their planet and be like, hey, welcome home. I had a lot of weird thoughts like that, actually. Like, on my 10th birthday, I was almost shot. I lived out in the country and there were some guys like way out in the next property over who were having like target practice, and I was riding my bike around the yard. This was literally on my 10th birthday. I hopped off my bike, I started to talk to my neighbor, and then I was, walking my bike up to the house when all of a sudden a freaking bullet went right over my head. My neighbor saw it and she was like, I'm gonna go call the cops. The cops came, we told my parents, we found the bullet that went right over my head, right underneath my bedroom window. It was like lodged into the brick. So they went and they talked to these guys and they told them like they have to be more careful, basically. That's pretty much all that happened. But this led me to have this really deep, like existential fear that I had actually died that day, and I was just dreaming my life as it would have been had I not died. I was a weird kid, and I had a lot of weird thoughts like this, and I never told anybody this. But if you've read Fresh Hell, the character Bailey in that has a lot of thoughts about feeling like she's a ghost and that she's just not really here on Earth. All of this comes from a really real place and a deep-seated fear of mine when I was a kid. All the way into like my early 20s, I felt this way, that I was actually just a ghost. It's not a good feeling. Anywho, thanks for listening to my sad little story. Let's talk about some more books. Before long, I had a stack of books a mile high and I wasn't even done. I still had to go check out the other side of the store, which housed their adult section and all of their pulp paperbacks and their antique books. And I did manage to find a few adult titles in their pulp section, so I found a couple of gothic books that I thought looked cool. We found a movie novelization of Paint Your Wagon, which is a Clint Eastwood movie, which I've heard is a very controversial film that I've never seen before. I'm kind of interested to see it. This is cool. Sharks Attacks on Man. It's basically just a book about shark attacks. That looks freaking awesome. Scorpion, which is a very collectible Paperbacks from Hell title. I have a copy of this that's in really bad shape, but this one looks much nicer. And then we've got another horror paperback here called Zebra, which is about a cult of some kind. So this brings me to the whole checkout situation that I was telling you about. I was waiting in line, 2 baskets full of books. We waited for a while, we got up there, and I'm like, am I supposed to check out books here in the coffee line? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, okay. Each book had a price in the inside, and if it didn't, that meant that it was $1. So we basically just had to kind of help him go through all of these books and sort them into different piles. Meanwhile, people are trying to like grab their coffee from over top of us, and I was like, I am so sorry. Like I said, they were super accommodating and super nice and very helpful and very patient. I had literally 100 books and they were just super chill about it. I think they were just glad that I was coming and clearing out some of their books. Great store though. Oh my God, I loved it. It was one of the best stores that I visited. I had a blast looking at everything. I was there for probably 2 hours and I could have looked for even longer. Like there's even more there to see. I will definitely go back. Bowling Green, it's a little bit of a drive for me, but it's not quite as far as Toledo, so I could go on a Sunday sometime and go back and see the bookstore again, try their coffee, and then see the rest of the town, because the town itself just looked beautiful. The next stop on our road trip back home was Jeffrey's Antique Gallery in Findlay, Ohio. I first heard about this store all the way back in 2009 by Nancy Drew expert Jennifer Fisher. She has a blog called the Nancy Drew Sluice, and she posted about this store and said, look at all these Nancy Drew books they have. If you're a Nancy Drew collector, you should definitely come and see this store. So ever since 2009, I've been like, I gotta go to this antique mall in Findlay, woo! So I did. And they had no Nancy Drew. I had a feeling that after 15 years, they probably did not have those same Nancy Drew books. They had really none to speak of. And I also have to say, compared to the ginormous Maumee Antique Mall that we saw in Toledo, this particular antique store, even though they claim to be the biggest in the state, it really is not as big. They had some cool books, but I would say that they were a little bit overpriced. Like for instance, there was this Dinner with Drac book. It was $25. I mean, it did have the vinyl record included still, but it was just a little too much. I was still tempted to pull the trigger, but I had spent enough money at the last place, and I wanted to conserve my resources in case I found a true gem at this antique mall. I didn't want to blow it right away. Put a pin in that for later. I did, however, find a ton of totally killer magazines and comic books. I didn't buy quite as many of them, but I did manage to get some really cool ones. Like for instance, there's this old horror comic called R.I.P. Rest in Peace. It was $5, which is a little steep for a single comic, but it's rare, and I had never heard of it before. Like this one, for instance, again, had never heard of it. It's called Demon Dreams. Just looks really cool. Children of the Voyager. Really cool cover on this. It's actually embossed, which you can't tell because it's got this plastic cover on it, but the whole cover is embossed. Blood of the Innocent, which is a Dracula comic that I thought looked pretty cool. And then of course, I always have to grab a vintage Conan magazine, and this one in particular looks amazing because he is a vampire slayer. As always with antique malls, we hit the nostalgia overload with this place. There was a surprising amount of Oz memorabilia here. I'm a big Oz fan, so it was cool to see this stuff. And there was a random abundance of carousels and carousel horses, which I also really have a soft spot for some reason. I don't know why. And of course, it would not be an antique mall without some vintage Halloween. Which leads me to that holy grail find that I was talking about. Are you ready for it, creeps? It is this Universal Monsters Telco Motionette from 1992. I have always wanted one of these. It's still in the box. It does advertise the Wolfman, which they had that as well. I almost got both, but then I decided to just stick with Dracula. If they had the Creature from the Black Lagoon, you bet your ass I would have bought him. There's also a Frankenstein one. They didn't have that either. But man, I'm so glad I got this. It was pretty well priced. It goes for way more than what I paid for on eBay. And lastly, we did make one more stop before we got home, and we had to stop, since we were going right past it, at home. They have their Halloween stuff, guys, and what can I say? I needed more Halloween. There you have it, creeps. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey to Toledo, Ohio to see the Nancy Drew Museum and all of the bookstores in between. I had so much fun doing this. This has been a video that I've been planning since last year. I'm just so glad that I was able to finally go and to make this video and to edit the final part of this series. But that is it for now, creeps. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know down below what you thought, and I'll be back very soon for another episode of Library Macabre. And guess what, creeps? Halloween is just around the corner. So stay tuned. Things are going to be happening.